Hey everyone, welcome back to the show here. We're just about ready to get into the second game here between SK Gaming Prime and H2K. And would you believe it, SK Prime leading 1-0 so far in the series, getting vengeance so far.
Yeah, and coming into it with a great team comp for them, the fact that Lucian's disabled, picking up Ezreal for Z's, even though he's played Lucian 3 out of 4 games we've seen him, bullying the lane of the late game Kog'Maw, and they ended up just owning most of the lanes except for top, and just basically leaving it on an island and saying, you know what, it's a dead island. Go ahead and bring people down with you.
Yeah, and honestly, the fact that they made just great cross-map plays, SK Prime had just good team fights as well. Some of that miscoordination from H2K. They were, as you mentioned, a pick-oriented team, and none of the picks seemed to pay off except for it, Smitty. And we talked about this time and again that SKP managed to outplay it, so good by them. Z's, he did stay alive, 3-0-9. As we mentioned, every time they lose, Z's manages to die at some point, so, you know, it's correlation.
It's a trend. Yeah, correlation does not mean causation, though.
No.
So just because he may die doesn't mean they won't win.
That's true.
So I'll have to keep an eye on that.
Maybe he'll play Cog, increases damage by dying.
Boom.
Just strats.
I don't know. He won't get much use out of that if he keeps a scoreline of 3-0-9.
Wow. Man, who wants to not use their passive as Kog'Maw, though?
Hey, last 2 games that he's played, or last 3 games he's played, he has a 32 KDA.
32. Pretty impressive stuff. Remember, what was it? I guess in Summer 1, we had the Gamers 2 bot lane had a 96 KDA till they got hit by NIP. And hey, I mean, if games keep going this way and the other side of the bracket plays according to seeds, maybe Z's will be able to break the NIP bot lane KDA crushing curse.
We'll see.
It's a bit of a reach.
Oh, man. Yeah, it is a bit of a reach because you have to see how the games today go.
Of course.
And tomorrow.
Right.
See what happens there. But coming into this as H2K, I think they had to pick a more team fight oriented composition because they were not objective focused at all.
Yeah.
They didn't really get a dragon off of anything. Their back timers were not correlated with it at all. And instead, it's like trashy backs, dragon gets taken because there's no chance. Didn't even have a smite there for Kinkus. Yeah. Could have possibly contested it, but they did have good pink ward coverage around the area to see the entrances when he ultis in.
Yeah. So SKP kind of showing us that, you know, top lane can get camp, but you can make plays elsewhere. H2K, I mean, maybe they can go for picks again, but they've got to probably focus on the correct lane and convert that into more, because I feel like 4 kills, 2 turrets is not a very good margin for getting a lead somewhere. Lee Sin, Orianna still being removed away from H2K. The Xerath and Kassadin dropped from SK Prime. Aurelia still removed from Odwamna, so it looks like SKP making a lot of very similar choices here.
Yeah, they leave Yasuo open, though, which is a big one for, in my mind, for Forbidden.
Yeah.
It'll let him have that if he wants it, but Gragas, Lulu's still on the table, which means SK Gaming Prime will pick one of them, most likely if you don't ban it, and then H2K might take the other 2 because they will synergize with Yasuo.
Ooh, that could be all kinds of fun. Well, right off the bat, though, Braum still early pick there for Zaitan. Really wants the champion. Now, last time around, H2K went for the early picks onto Thresh and Rengar and Gragas were their top 3. So we'll have to see if they still value these very heavily, if they will go for a Yasuo comp. Also, with Jarvan being available, could set that up as well, and that is going to be the case. So Gragas, Jarvan, this could set them up pretty safely for the Yasuo teams you talked about. Guys, we're going to be remaking champ select in a little bit. Those picks will remain the same so far, but we get 3 picks in, we'll see the rest in a little bit. So yeah, I do want to see that as well. I think that that's the comp you go to. It's a team fight comp. It lets you kind of play to the strengths of the players. They've got the picks that set it up.
Yeah, Watt the Fox, though, he has played Yasuo before back in Summer Series 1. So it is in his champion pool, and they might contest that and take it away. But at the same time, man, there's just too much here for H2K to set that up. Because you kind of have to take it away at this point. You don't want Forbidden on it, because he's 2v1'd on it before in the mid lane against a Ziggs, who has a lot of poke potential and is good in the late game, but they just crushed with it. So you're going to have to think about these picks really hard. And actually, Arise coming into is pretty good if you are suspecting that as the pick.
Arise, decent matchup. The Ezreal still coming through. SK Prime going to go ahead and make very similar choices. You know what would be funny? Smitty goes Riven and lane swaps. Riven crushes Yasuo one-on-one. And it's not like What the Fox doesn't know how to play Rise against Gragas. He's fought enough Gragases in his days. I'm sure he's used to the champion. I don't know. Maybe we're tunneling too hard on the Yasuo point, but I think it is a smart choice for H2K here regardless. But SKP playing the same comp so far. They will not get Jarvan again, though.
Yeah, they could go H2K. They could end up going for another just Twisted Fate and just trying to roam and make plays off of that. If he does pick the Yasuo, though, he's most likely picking it into a Rise, which can do a lot of just root him through the wall, walk around it, and just set up a bunch of damage. If they go with the Nami, though, man, they have so much here to set up a Yasuo that it would be a crime not to pick it if it was open. Seriously, that's way too much teamfight prowess and knockup for a Yasuo. It's easily accessible ultimates there. Yeah, that's kind of a telltale sign.
In H2K, they make some choices to realize, look, you know what? The early game bot lane went really poorly. Of course, Nami a great, I don't know if it's a better laner than Thresh. I think she's pretty good against Braum in general. So I think it's a slightly advantageous matchup compared to the first game, but also going for Corki instead of Kog'Maw. Actually, the big difference here, a champion that will fare much better in lane. And that was a trial for H2K last time, was having a losing bot lane. So this could help a lot of those difficulties.
Yeah, the bottom lane allowed it so that Dragon was very easy to access.
Yep.
The fact that they decided to camp Smitty top, pretty big. And SKP, they're going to go with the pick comp here that we saw. So it is going to be a Rise top and Twisted Fate mid.
Very interesting here. So I like the Rise flex pick. It looks pretty cool. They are happy to play Rise with Gragas, of course. Smitty's so far shown great skill in fighting Gragas top. It's just been the ganks that have turned him around. TF, though, could easily snowball that matchup. And I feel like Rise is a champion where even if you don't kill a million turrets, making that champion start 4-0 is just like, okay, we win now. Whereas like Gragas, going 2-0-2 or whatever is not nearly as important. So the weird thing is SKP could do what H2K did last game, and it would actually work.
It's true, because if they just camp the top lane, you just get that Rise going, and he scales so well into the late game.
Yeah.
We saw it previously on Wanta Fox. Now we're going to see it on Smitty in the top lane. What can he do with it? How can they get him going? Because there's going to be a lot of focus in that lane, and it does look like they have that same combo of Ezreal Braum in the bottom. It's going to be self-sufficient and fine.
Ooh, yeah, I completely agree. These guys are going to be hard to gank overall. One thing I like about that combo as well is that Ezreal can escape and Smitty can jump to him. Like, they actually both have escapes because of this, so I agree with you very heavily that it is a self-sufficient, pretty acceptable bot lane here. H2K do go for the Yasuo. Not surprised in the slightest, but we do want to see how these matches pay out. I do like Yasuo against TF. I think it's quite strong. You can block everything that he does aside from teleport, but he's going to have a hard time pushing you around in the lane. And you've still got these Jarvan ganks.
Yeah, they kind of swapped here in terms of what each team wants to accomplish.
Yeah.
A lot of team fighting here from H2K. You want to set up for Bevan early. You want to get him to the point where he's just going to be ganking and having all that team fight prowess when you come and get the dragons, be more objective focused. SKP is kind of like, all right, let's pick people off with Twisted Fate and Rengar and get into that late game with Smitty on the Rise and make sure we can shut people down and then show up to the fights, be like, you want to team fight us, but we're stronger than you.
Yeah.
And try to take objectives that way or pick somebody off before them. So there's a lot of options here for both teams in terms of their win conditions, but they just swapped them between games.
And so now it's the real test of, look, was that a fluke in game one? Did H2K just have their minds in the wrong spot? Did they not get enough sleep last night? Like, come up with your excuse, come up with your reason why. But, did something just break for H2K and they're back and they're fine and they can play team fights, they can play the game, they can win their lanes and normal stuff? Or is this SKP have them figured out? SKP are just the better team. They've leveled up and they can just outplay them regardless of compositions. Yeah,
there's a couple things here because I didn't like the whole composition for H2K last time and the way they executed it.
Yeah.
They're camping a Gragas top lane when you have a Kog'Maw bottom.
Yeah.
Who is kind of you're in a losing situation, but you have a lot of gank assistance with Thresh. Yeah. You have a lot of ways to close that distance and get to Ezreal and Braum. It's hard to, but I mean, I think it's the better option. Even if you just get half damage on them, it's like, okay, now we can go do Dragon and get ourselves global gold, which helps top lane, which helps mid lane. Gragas against Riven, he was getting bullied around, but still, he's just very self-sufficient, just leave him to his own devices. It didn't look like he was going to get solo killed for a while there. And it's like, there wasn't a whole lot of emphasis on that top lane that should have been there. And then you swap it over, and I was like, they should be team fighting. And the fact that Trashy didn't have a very damage-oriented build, he kind of went half and half.
Yeah.
He double-dipped, but kind of just half-dipped each one.
Yeah, I don't really love Madrid's Cutlass in competitive. The two builds I've liked the most is there's one that Dominate ran, which was cooldown boots into Kindle Gem. And then he's like, I'm going to be tank, but I'm rushing 25 CDR on items. And it's like, okay, cool, I buy that. right? And you're just going to go for the ganks, you're going to build tank, you're going to do whatever you can. That's fine. Or you can go the awesome way in Korea, and I unfortunately forget which player does this, but there's a couple of different Assassin Rengar players out there who will go full damage and be like, I will one-shot your AD carries, your life's going to be pain, and I'm going to go for that. And he prioritizes getting farm, prioritizes getting ahead in gold and levels so that he can actually push that forward. But the weird half and half of Madrid's, but then a Cutlass, but then like the Spectre's Cowl, none of that really seems to fall through, right? None of that seems to actually sort of happen at the end of the day. So you're like, I'm not taking enough to be a real tank, but I don't do enough damage to one-shot anybody, so I'm kind of in this middle ground. And that's, I think, a really rough place to be in. And so I want to see then what actually happens from Kikis, what Rengar comes out, and how effective he is.
Yeah, and see what Kikis does with the build is a big thing here, how he's going to build them and what he ends up getting. Because, I mean, he could go full damage. He could go get a Yumu's Ghost Blade, go all the way for the Blade of the Ruined King, or he could just go full-on tanky. Don't know which one he's going to go with. But that's something I want to keep an eye on here, because it didn't work out for Trashy. And they kind of swapped junglers here too. And they swapped team win conditions. But now Vivid on the Yasuo with so much setup. Like, if you're going to gank anybody, you should gank this mid lane and shut down Fibiven, if you can. It's going to be difficult, but that's where your focus should be. H2K, they should just focus on ward control. And man, I do have to still give like more kudos to SKP on their ward control that first game, because their pink wards were in the right places, and H2K didn't really have anything to say about it. They couldn't get them off the map fast enough, and just the constant influx of wards was huge.
It was absolutely perfect by those guys. We're going to see if they can do it again in Game 2 here. Battle lines drawn.
So Smitty starts with boots instead of the Sapphire Crystal to try and dodge barrels in the top lane from Odwamna.
I like it a lot. All right. Gragas is one of the few champions whose way of engaging is actually blocked by minions. Like Aurelia, Jax, etc., they can leap strike on top of you. Gragas actually gets blocked by minions, so it's actually very hard for him to gap close. Right? Boots don't help much against Aurelia or Jax. But if you're dodging barrels and you can basically be immune to body slams, it's actually a really good situation to be in.
You can dodge a barrel, you can dodge a body. A belly.
Yes, you can.
Oh, they're going to do it again.
Gonna face check in. A lot of damage comes
Other side.
through. He's got to back out on this one.
Wow. So the teams kind of just swapped dynamics too.
Yeah.
Now we have SKP face check in bushes.
But We Will Failure, of course, learned W already. He didn't save that skill point. He could have bubbled Ezreal, forced a heal and a flash probably. Ezreal does recall for health back. He actually, I don't believe he chugged a potion during that. And he's going to be late to lane by a wave, though.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty big, though. Oh, Zaitan, he's going to get level 2 a lot sooner. But they aren't fast pushing this either. They're kind of just...
They're denying as much as possible. Because you can't push the end of the turret in time to deny XP, maybe some gold. But if they can deny a couple of minions, they guarantee level 2 first. They guarantee an even longer time zoning.
And less gold.
Yep.
So it's a great strategy coming into here. Of course, it means they won't be able to push the wave to the turret. It'll be a little frozen in SKP's favor. But once they hit that level 2, I'm sure they'll try to all in and then go around.
Good chance they can. You're seeing the harass come out from Corki. We Will Failure.
It's very close.
Have hit damage as well. And Braum and Tilly. And the thing is, the minion wave is bigger, so Braum can't engage. It's basically a 1-on-2 right now. Zaitan has very few things to do.
That last one, and then they'll get 2. There they go.
Bubble? Good dodge by Z's.
That was just the side of it. Very, very close. He was right up against the wall.
Very fortunate for SKP. This throws right in front of the turret, so minions were not getting hit by the tower there. And they can actually keep this freeze for a while, I think, and continue to last hit from pretty much safety.
Trashy. He's on the Jarvan. He's on the champion that he's 2-0 on right now in Summer Series 2. If he can start making these early plays that he's so known for and so regarded for, he can start getting H2K into a good spot.
Uh-oh, Yarnden. 2 turret shots there. It's not a happy place to be. Missed that one too. Yeah, so being out of the turret now is actually really hurting Ezreal. There's only so many ways to last hit. Ezreal's base attack speed's quite low, and the cooldown missing shot's actually pretty decently long, to where you cannot guarantee every last hit under turret as an early game Ezreal. Seeing 23 to roughly 19 at the end of this first few waves, so a few more denied. Trashy really wants to bypass wards. And he actually will dodge this on the way in towards mid.
They pinged it out. They knew that it was there. He's waiting for the cooldowns on his abilities. What can he do with it? He's sitting in the bush, using a lot of his time. This is a cannon wave, and they're going to bait him into a cannon that's pretty big.
Red card used, knock up, good flash.
Ooh. It wasn't a cannon wave, now it's here. But that's the kind of forcing plays that Trashy likes to make. And on Jarvan, it's perfect for him in his champion pool. He can basically play his play style regardless of what the enemy plays as a jungler. You have to ward against this. You have to ward early, where wards are pretty damn scarce.
And it's been some pretty good stuff now by H2K to bypass the wards that have gone down. So SKP doing what they can to make this a 2-0. It'd be really nice for them. They're playing for the potential ideal situation for SKP is 3rd seed in the playoffs, meaning they would play the winner of the tiebreaker first round, ostensibly a weaker team. Otherwise, they're going to face Lublin Shore. If they fail the 3rd seed, they'll be 4th overall. Lublin Shore guaranteed 5th. And H2K, if they win, they can get themselves a 1st seed and get themselves a better spot in the playoffs. A bye regardless, though, for these guys. Top 2 is ensured.
Also, if you win, you get to go take a little trip for the finals. Yeah. It's no
More
London.
Stage experience, which is actually rather valuable.
Oh, yeah, especially if you're going to be playing in the promotion tournament.
That's the goal. And the LCS itself, also all on stage.
Oh, yeah. Get as much stage experience as you possibly can. This is the ticket to it right here. Winner of this game, or this series, possibly winner of this game if it's SKP. CS advantages across the board right now for H2K. All their lanes are doing very well.
And that's what they kind of expected, and they picked in it. They picked for that as well. They finally, hopped off the hyper carry hype train and said, okay, you know what, bot lane's really rough if we don't pick something good earlier on. Fjarlan goes over for Corki here. Kickus now looking for his way to the top lane of Drum. The nice explosive cast, but still gets re-imprisoned. The leap still comes through. There's the first Bola. Kickus does have the root. Odrom's going to tank that. He does not have flash. Damage still coming through, and he's going to get the kill to Smitty. No, he's not. Kickus says, that's mine. And a trophy for the hunt.
Too far up and no mana in his mana pool, able to use the explosive cast, but then the leap back in, closes the distance. Kickus, Smitty, getting that first blood top. The teams have basically reversed every dynamic from the last game.
Yes, they have, and I want to see then which team can play around that better. H2K having trouble in the top lane. In fact, even TP's back to the lane as well. He really wants to not miss any of these minions here, put the turret pressure down, deny this wave as much as possible. Smitty will at least miss a few on this recall.
I think the idea was to try and stop the back, though, because you don't TP to a minion and get the longer TP cooldown without at least doing something along those lines, but no. Doesn't deny it. Yeah,
it's a 1 minute difference in cooldown, and you hope you get something that's worth it. There we go, ulti comes in. Oh! There comes a flash engage from Trashy as well, and that is What2Fox going down. Nice gank, H2K.
The flash, flag, and drag for the extra knockup. They knew that he didn't have flash anymore on What2Fox, and he brought Exhaust as a secondary summoner spell. No ghost for him, no heal, no cleanse. He wants to try and shut down the damage of Forbidden, uses the Exhaust on Trashy there at the very end.
And a beautiful gank. Overall good stuff, and H2K, look at that, immediately they capitalize on the mid lane kill with a push on towards Dragon. Exactly the right move here. In fact, SKP had also just finished recalling down in the bottom lane, so in every way this is going to be untouched.
Yeah, I love this comp for H2K. It plays a lot more to their style. They thought they could win off individual skill last game, and the fact that they weren't able to capitalize off that or even create leads in the majority of the lanes was really big for them, and SKP came out on top. Being more objective-focused plays to their style. More team fights, more clashes, more gold. That's how H2K want to do.
So far, they're doing this very successfully. Top lane still kind of treading water there. Looks like Smitty's not getting too much.
Oh, he knocked the red card.
He's got to be a little bit careful on this one. Fibun does have a knockup available about 1 second. Knockup's going to land. Big damage through. Puts the wind wall down. Just gets all the damage he needs. The solo kill for Febvin.
That's why you don't give him Yasuo.
Yeah.
Talked about it coming into this. His Orianna and his Yasuo, you don't want to give them to Forbidden. They are way too good at team fighting, and the fact that he solo kills the lane with both of those champions.
And it's only going to get worse now for SK Prime. I feel like this game might just go the way of so many other H2K games right here. Kickus not able to make his gank in the bottom lane. That's fine. But you're seeing a 1,000 gold deficit now for the blue team. Ulti in for What2Fox, just gets back to the mid lane. That's all he can do, is just you know what, ganks aren't working, I'll just get my farm back. That is a very rare thing to have happen.
Yeah, the counter gank pressure here from SKP is completely gone. Kikis used his ultimate to try and gank down bottom, didn't get anything for it. WTFox has to use his ultimate to get back to this mid lane and pick up the CS. So if Trashy makes any plays, they're pretty much going to be unpunished.
This is a very big danger then for SK Prime then if they can't get control back in this game. Again, they are the pick-oriented team. Smitty's actually not crushing the lane enough. Odwama, nice knockback. Smitty very low on health. Another barrel is going to land, but maybe. Now Smitty's too low on mana. Can't keep chasing in. It's
just a big back and forth there, and Smitty doesn't have enough mana for it. They're going to try to contest this mid lane. Low mana on the top laner. Low mana on the mid laner. Vivin, though.
Trashy's going to go for it.
It's not nearby yet.
Alright, does not get the blue buff steal. Nothing picked up there.
No collapse from Forbidden. He's too focused on this turret. He wants the damage on it.
That's fine. He denied a full minion wave by doing this.
Minion wave for blue. Not exactly worth, but as long as you don't give up the blue,
yeah, it
would have put you even further into the hole.
Exactly. And I mean, Trashy's got his own blue anyway, regardless. So they basically just managed to tax a minion wave. Trashy got a solo his without any incident.
He's looking to get the flash from WTFox.
There's the ulti right on the way, and there's the flash right from WTFox. 4.5 to 5 minutes based on masteries there. And it could be another follow-up gank.
Forcing Flash out with the Cataclysm. He'll be back. They're putting a lot of focus on this mid lane, trying to get Forbidden ahead. He can almost 2v1. He's Yasuo. He likes those item power spikes and all of that gold that's coming into him. Highest CS in the game currently. He's just had a really easy time with the help of Trashy.
It's been beautiful to watch so far, but what? Ooh, Zaytang gonna take some damage there. Good bubble by We Will FLICKR. This bot lane actually back to treading water, actually. 86 to 82 in minions right there. The Ezreal coming back in soon. Equal items on the AD carries as well. And despite having the early aggressive lead, it actually has equaled out.
Zeus has a really good Ezreal play, I've been noticing. His Ezreal's been really good. A lot of SKP, they're actually pretty good at playing from behind.
Yeah.
That's something about this team that, man, I don't know how many times they've been behind, but they're getting a lot of practice with it because they are damn good at it. Smitty in the top lane was behind. He's behind right now as well. Having a great time.
And that's actually the issue, though. Odwama is playing a lot better as well now. The fact that he died and is actually winning this matchup. Pinkward's going to spot Febivin. Smitty is going to say, yeah, all right, you're going to kill that ward. A couple of crits. Still deal 1 damage, though. Wards are resilient like that.
Crit you for 1.
And what if you could get ward armor? You'd never die.
Ward armor? If you had armor like a ward?
Yeah, you take 1 damage from every attack.
Why don't you just slap a bunch of wards on your body?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You'd be invincible.
Ward mail. Warden's mail.
Warden's mail. That's the one, guys. We should update that item.
Doesn't quite work the same, though.
Imagine if it did. That'd be horrifying.
Take thousands of hits to kill everybody on this team right now. League of Legends would be no longer fun.
Lucian would remain the best AD carry. He could just attack more often.
That's true. Attack speed would be just immensely helpful. Auto attack resets, yes.
You know, Jarvan's passive still works on wards, so he'd be much higher in the tier list as well.
I did 1.1 damage to you.
Well, no, it would still do 10% of max health.
I guess so.
Kikis has to flash away. Look at that. Just
another force.
H2K. Great ward coverage. They're finding more things to do, more things to force, as you mentioned. Nice little move there. Jumps the wall. Looks stylish.
Man, level 11 here for Forbidden in the middle lane. 2 over WTFox. Rank 2 ultimate is really big on Yasuo. He's ready to just pressure this. And the fact that WTFox doesn't have a flash, he has to play very reserved and very safe.
And look at that for Kikis as well. He's just forced out of his own jungle. He walks back to the Wraith camp and says, you know what? Never mind, can't go through there. Goes all the way down to the bottom lane through the minion wave. Actually spots Jarvan on the counter jungle. Knows the red's back up, but H2K already has ward coverage of this. Tiavoldi comes in and says, we can't fight this either. The whole bot lane's there as well.
Yep, the collapse coming in, and the advantages from all of these lanes coming up big. Fight for this.
Wow, H2K actually back off, but that one Smite comes in for Kikis. But this could be the fight anyway. Fuvin does not want to go in this one just yet, but the wind wall's down to block some of Zeus's damage, and he whiffs the true shot barrage. There's the tidal wave, and the Kikis picked up onto Braum, and now the chase onto Zeus. Nice arcane shift over the wall, but Fevin is not going to be stopped there. Picks up a second kill for himself, and now moves forward to Smitty. Good flash, going to keep Rise safe. But H2K win another fight.
Just such a bloody fight there. 2 kills falling into the hands of H2K, and Dragon is now up for them as well.
This will be another easy pickup for these guys. Of course, they earned it off that bottom lane. A jungle fight. But farther and farther ahead they go, now 3,000 gold.
That was pretty much a catch-22 for SKP as well. Because of the fact that Kikis smited the red, he wasn't going to have it up for Dragon. So even if H2K walked up and was like, smite this, I dare you. They just collapse onto Dragon afterwards and say, all right, are you going to fight us at Dragon now? We have the better team fight composition.
Yep.
And you don't have smite.
So H2K playing exactly to their strengths, and they found a way to stop basically all of Kikis' jungle ganks, just like the first game. First Rengar gank comes through, gets killed in the top laner, basically first blood, sets, you would think, the top laner up, and then no other Rengar ganks work.
Yeah, Rengar ganks this entire series haven't been coming up very well. The ward coverage from whichever team is against Rengar has been pretty damn good.
Yeah, it has been. And What the Fox also has gotten actually 0 effective TF ultis, which is very surprising to me. I know he's a great player, but they are not working for him right now. I feel like if he could just crush that top lane a little bit harder, just get rid of Odwamna. As we talked about, four kills for a Ryze is enough to win a game. 4 kills for a Gragas, maybe not the same, but not even that's working for SKP.
Yeah, Smitty hasn't even completed the Rod of Ages yet. He has the tier in between them. Whereas the Rod of Ages for Odwamna is already stacking up. So the power spike is going to be a little different in the late game. Kikis looking up top, maybe taking a little bit of your advice, seeing if they can leverage this.
Odwamna has the explosive cask, though. He's actually been very hard to gank. He knocks back
he goes
constantly. Remember the fight. Rengar ulti comes in. Kikis wants this one. Gets the root and gets knocked back towards the other side. Flash by Odwamna. TF ulti pop, but just sees that, hey, there might be a counter gank. Just shows up and cuts off the engage. I don't think he should have even left, though. He could have shoved mid lane in.
Yeah, now mid lane's going to get shoved in by Fibivin and Trashy. Basically, TF pulling a little Western there, heads him off at the pass, but they weren't even coming.
But here's the interesting risk, though, is Febivin and Trashy together can actually knock this turret down rather quickly. There's enough AD on Febivin plus some attack speed from Trashy that they could do some real damage to Tier 2. SKP will take out Tier 1 top, but looks like they're going to send the TF back to defend. H2K actually, it's going to be close for this turret. I think they get it.
Yeah, if he throws down his standard basically behind them,
he'll
get the extra attack speed and it'll be even quicker, but instead he wants to keep it just in case they want to get a knock-up on somebody, so I like that.
Okay, so +1 kill picked up for SKP.
Oh, they're roaming bottom.
Oh, you got to be real careful. The pings come out. Z's Zaitan trying to run away. Febivin's around. One more Q till he gets the knock-up. And now can he get the engage? Zaitan, great shield in the way, says, don't you even dare.
Oh.
They clear the minion wave out, but the entire team is here to take this turret down. Good rotation by H2K.
Yeah, good cutoff to separate the team. And now What the Fox. Of course, he has no ultimate, so there's no way for him to actually engage this fight. He has to wait for it to come to him. They pulled everybody here, too. Smitty's down there as well.
That's very surprising, actually, but it gives Odwamna plenty of time now in the top lane to push in, grow a farther minion lead, and despite the death, maybe get up in experience as well.
Fight over the blue objective.
And Trashy gets it.
Blue Wraith. Victory. For Trashy and H2K. Odwamna in the top lane continuing to just push this turret down. Smitty's here to finally answer it. But man, this entire game, it's just been role reversal from the first game. H2K more objective focused. SKP, even with the TF and the Rengar, have not been getting a very carry-oriented lane ahead. And the kill participation for the junglers pretty low too, considering both of them are Kikis and Trashy.
They go for the play and then Trashy ults in on What the Fox, but Smitty's going to cut them off. Febivin might just be in the wrong spot, and Rune Prison says, yes, you are. Now Trashy also stunned up. H2K fight off way more than they can chew, and Rengar takes him out.
Very beginning of the entire series, we talked about how Trashy is a forcer, and Kikis will capitalize off these little mistakes. Cut off 2 members with 4. Now you're going to get yourself a Tier 1 turret, possibly a Tier 2.
Well, the entire team basically here looks like that might be the case here, and then wants to do something about it, but What the Fox, with a gold card, you force him to Valkyrie the wall, Out he goes. Turret damage still coming through. Half HP right now. Odwamna, good knock, but this actually could catch them up. Kikis gets exhausted, takes massive damage, heals up just in time, and Odwamna goes down. The bubble hits What the Fox, but Exhaust gonna keep the team safe. Nice damage from Rise. We will feel her get stunned, and Smitty sticking around with the high health bar. Couple Qs away, forces a summoner heal. Now Smitty very, very low. Z's gotta be a bit careful. Couple shots from Dead. Hjarnan, will he chase in? More rockets, flashes, gets the kill. Nicely done.
Big thing about Yasuo comps is that you kind of need Yasuo in the comp to execute what it needs to do. If he was still alive, that would have surely been multiple kills off the back of that, because there were some good casks in there, there were some good knockups with bubbles, but it was just damage off the top of it, but it was mostly damage for Gragas and Nami. Very low damage sources. Hjarnan, he hasn't really hit any spikes except for the early Trinity Force.
But that's enough. Like, I feel like Triforce Corki is better than Triforce Ezreal. These guys are fairly equivalent right now.
He has a higher damage output right now, but I'm just talking about in comparison to the rest of his team, like the mid laner.
Oh, sure.
That's the guy you want. You want these guys in the fight.
Absolutely. So we're going to have to keep making the considerations on who's in the battle and who's not, of course. Most of Twisted Fate's power is not in his ability to fight, but his ability to get to the fights he wants to be in. And in extended sieges, you know, TF only does so much in combat.
This dragon is going to mean a lot. We will FLICKR. His ultimate is pretty close to being off of cooldown. It'll be up for this fight. And now it's the team fight composition versus the pick comp at the dragon.
Wow, SKP might just pick a fight here. They could have just shoved the mid lane, but they're trying to contest this. Big damage on Febiven. He's forced to flash away. Dragon goes over to H2K, but the battle has begun. Tidal Wave comes across. Kikis going to be dropped down 1-0. They trade back on Febiven. What the Fox flashed into the pit to fight, but now he might just be caught out. They go for Trash. He gets picked up. Z's just killing everybody. Smitty going massive as well. 1v1, we will FLICKR. Gets the vengeance there. Shutdown comes off, but there's the TF ulti. Goes in for Odwamna. Gets in the way of the body slam. And another gold card gets picked up. More damage from Z's. The W goes in as well. And SK Prime pick up 4 kills there.
They come up really big off the back of that. A lot of kills in that dragon pit and around it. Febiven took a ton of damage before the fight actually broke out. And his ultimate, I don't even know if he got it off that fight. It didn't look like it, because if he did, he got it off at the very end and just got chunked down. Because off the back of the left side of it, we saw that What the Fox was over the wall throwing cards. He flashes in yellow cards for Febiven in the back after he had started to engage. It was really just a very hectic dragon fight. And the way that it started off, H2K looked like they would be on top. But the fact that SKP had the right positioning on the fight was crucial to it.
And that was the big thing, is they had really good poke, and I think Windwall got used on Dragon. It's a really common tactic. You Windwall the Dragon, doesn't deal damage to your tank, you know, you get the damage mitigation removed, you know, all that fun stuff. But the cooldown's like 30 seconds, basically, until you get it. It's like 28 or something in rank 1, right? Something large. And they got TF poke, Ezreal poke, and that was the one thing that we didn't really account for, is there's actually some decent poke for SKP. Like, on a squishy target, I mean, you so rarely get poke on squishies, but like Wildcard's Mystic Shot, actually pretty decent damage, and that was a lot of the reason they actually got the kill there. It was impressive.
Yeah, and he did actually use the wind wall, but he went through the dragon, turned it around, because he was trying to escape the stun or the lockup on him that happened, but then What the Fox flashed the wall and was like, oh, I'm on the opposite side of your wind wall.
Right.
So he came up behind him on that.
Yeah, and it was actually pretty impressive. We actually have a replay of that last fight, if you can pull that one up there, because this has been pretty big here for SKP. They did lose the dragon in that fight, but they go 4 for 3 in the battle. And it gives them map control afterwards as well, and it allows them to push on forward. So you can see, Febiven takes so much damage.
He got stunned, uses his wind wall right here to cross the dragon. What the Fox walks up through the wind wall to get the stun off, and that's the biggest priority target now off the field. We will FLICKR. Actually tries to help Hjarnan out, but he gets taken out by Smitty before the actual reinforcement comes in. So the fact that Hjarnan didn't survive, all their damage is basically gone. And now with the 2 primary damage dealers of SKP, aside from Rise, still up, the fight was theirs at that point.
Yeah, and it's really impressive play by Smitty, who was, he got all of, what, 1 successful gank up there? Or he got a second one eventually, right? They eventually took down Gragas a second time. And we talked about the role reversals in this game. Right, a lot of the champion switching sides, a lot of the kills switching spots as well. And when you saw in game 1, H2K limp into battles, when Odwamna would show up as like this 2-0 and 3 Gragas, it was very unimpressive. We didn't see much come out of him. He would come into the fights late, and the battle was already lost. In this battle, SKP picked the fight, saying, we're down in gold, but we think we got you. And Smitty gets a double kill to basically start the battle. Like, barely dies to support afterwards, but takes down Corki by himself. And I believe he removed the jungler. That was his kill credit there. And suddenly you've got a top laner who's doing things in team fights. What a great place to be in. And as we talked about, like, hey, getting Rise ahead is a weak but an existing win condition.
Yeah, and it's one of the ones that they're going to have to play to here. We talked about you to pick the pick comp, but then they have a hyper carry in the top lane. Yeah. So you set him up for success so that he can carry the late game off the back of his middle and his jungler who set him up. At the same time, though, the double gold card onto the high priority target of Forbidden with the Yasuo. Talk about it's a Yasuo comp. We call it that for a reason.
Yep.
Because if you take him out of it, it's kind of like, oh, we have a bunch of knockups, but not a lot of follow-up damage. It's kind of like Protect the Kog'Maw.
Right.
You take the Kog'Maw out, it's like, all right, we have a lot of Protect, but who are we using it on?
Yeah, and that's really the big thing there is who is the other damage threat. I mean, Corki's pretty good mid-game. 1 item, 2 item Corki's pretty all right, but he can't carry a team fight. He doesn't crush a tanky Rise. He doesn't crush a Braum who can basically block all the skill shots there. Odwamna is in a weird middle ground where he's got some damage, but he's still pretty durability focused. Again, I feel like the only good team fighting Gragas that I've really seen is the Lichbane Gragas. Like Lichbane, Death Cap, Void Staff. He's the only one I've seen like, that's a good team fighter. And so without Yasuo, as you mentioned, they're all there for setup and like, well, they're useful, but they're not great.
The Dragon still did go over to H2K.
Yes.
So they have a bit of a gold advantage. Dwamna, the Abyssal Scepter, which you were kind of touching on there with the durability. Don't know how much he's going to be able to do with that because he's just going for the wave clear, but he gets taken down. He's not really a big factor in the fights right now.
Not yet.
Because Smitty's kind of outshining him. He's showing up, he's displacing, but really the focus is Forbidden. The fact that 2 gold cards went onto him and he couldn't get his ultimate off for the longest time was pretty much the deciding factor of the fight. Because they have to utilize him.
Well, Forbidden about to get some friends. Bubble's going to land on a Zayatan. Good damage comes through. Half HP on Braum. Has to jump away. Tidal Wave comes out. Blocked by the shield, but he's still taking damage. Forced to flash, actually. Febiven does not want to get back into this fight just yet. Turret still taking a bit of damage. Watafox going to spam out, and this will be losing more and more health. Smitty waiting in the wings. Trashy around as well. Bubble won't quite land 2 more attacks. Watafox takes it out with a gold card. And we're now within 2,500 gold. H2K, to be fair to them, haven't talked about it much this game, been pretty reprimanding, but they do hold the lead here. They have been controlling, I believe, every single dragon, and their bot lane is up 30 CS. That is very good.
Yeah, coming into this game, I said you need to pick a team fight comp for H2K. Even despite the fact that they lost that last team fight, they got the dragon off of it, were more objective focused this game than they were last game.
Yeah.
Which I was saying is a bigger influx of gold. The fact that you lost a team fight, you still came out on top in terms of gold income, because the fact that you got the dragon.
Absolutely.
So if they keep playing to that type of strategy, they'll end up winning the game. But SKP, they can still pick somebody off. They can still take advantage of poor positioning, and they can also just wait for the Rise to scale up.
So how long does SKP want to wait around for that then? And how much will they keep contesting these objectives? If they get the early poke, maybe they keep going. Right now, Febiven really being donated a lot of the farm. He was in the bot lane, took a big wave by the turret, walked all the way across the map to the big wave top lane and said, yep, that's going to be yours as well. Highest CS on the team. They really want that Infinity Edge to come in so he can carry.
Yeah, speaking of Infinity Edges, Yarnan's on his way to one right now on the Corki, so he's looking for that extra damage, whereas Z's is going to go for the Blade of the Rune King build as his second item.
I actually think that's correct on both cases there.
Oh, they set a trap.
Jumping on in. Watafox taking massive damage.
Up.
Knocked back in. And there is a 3-man Yasuo ulti. This is not a good fight for SK Prime, but Smitty goes in actually anyway. Mass will just come across, but it's 2 kills so far. Odwamna picks up that one. Another one for Hjarn. Then everybody in SK Prime falling away. Only Z's is alive, and H2K going to get Baron.
That's a 4-man kill there for 0. 3-man knockup. All I got to say to that is Watafox. That was a crazy fight. There really isn't anything Z's can do about this. No ultimate. It's going to go over to H2K on that Baron. It looked like a bait from both sides. But one was a little more prepared for it than the other. I want to watch this. Odwamna doing so much damage to Watafox. knocks him into that, which hits 3 people because they get knocked up into the already started ultimate. Last breath, really big there. Kikis gets taken off the field, and it's just this big clump up against the team fight composition. Terrible positioning there from SKP. They tried to collapse because Odwamne said he wasn't doing much, but man, he had enough durability to last long enough. The perfect barrel into that ultimate. You only need one, really. You just need one great last breath or one great shockwave, the 2 champions that Vivin is known for, to just turn a game around and just blow it wide open, and that's exactly what happened right there.
Oh, my apologies to Odwamne. That Kragus build working in this case. I mean, stacking Magic Pen. You got no other magic damage dealers in the team, really, so you wouldn't buy much magic just otherwise, so the flat pen build going to give him plenty of damage returns there, and yep, he's setting up the team, so grats to them. H2K now 7,000 gold up. To be fair, they've been in control actually most of this game. And they could maybe just push it home in the near future.
Ooh, is that going to be a rabbit on death cap here for Odwamne?
Yes, it is.
So here's the thing with New Gragas.
There we go.
Is basically take away some AP ratios, give him another damage ability with his W, because it wasn't really one before. But there is counterplay in his kit, because he has to be closer to execute all of his moves. So he puts himself at risk. But if you just go full glass cannon, I'm going to go wombo somebody and set my team up, then I would argue that he's even stronger than he was before.
If you land everything, yeah.
Yeah, you have to land everything. The W, just adding an extra damage skill on, overall his damage output's a little higher than it was previously.
If you can get it all, absolutely the case. And right now, Odwamne's been landing some combos on some important backline targets. That's going to be a risk there. What the Fox does have his Zhonya's Hourglass now. He's going for the Lich Bane as well. Kikis wants in, goes for it, jumps across the wall, gets bubbled. Zaitan lands a slow, but Kikis forced to flash away. There's the ulti in for Trashy, but he's maybe overextended. Teleports come in, ulti not going to come in for Yasuo just yet, but do they keep on chasing? Odwamne is around, gets the knockback. Smitty very low on health, goes down to a barrel. Another one goes off on a Wat the Fox. This is not good for SK Prime. Another good fight for H2K.
It's a very uncharacteristic engage there from Kikis. Usually he doesn't want to force the issue. He jumps in. You can see everybody with the Rengar ultimate. Goes over the wall. Believes he has some backup. He flashes out and ditches the 2 highest damage dealers on his team. And a great wind wall from Vivin that stopped the Braum ultimate, the Glacial Fissure. Wow,
and that one just stopped the Ezreal ulti as well. Goes for the knockup. Nice arcane shift by Aziz. Keeps himself alive. Barrel comes out. Slows her there, but it's not enough to stop H2K. He's going to move in, take down the middle inhibitor at 28 minutes.
Huge power spike for Vivin before that fight even started, getting the Infinity Edge completed, and the ward coverage all across the middle of the map from H2K has been setting them up perfectly. But SKP, even though they are down 10,000 gold in this game, they still have great ward coverage of the map. That's the thing, is they picked that fight consciously, knowing who was around. It was just seemed very forced.
So let's see what SKP can do. They still have those wards down, but right now they're stuck inside their base. Wards don't help much when you see them right in front of your turret. Another one's going to be going down. H2K making a lot out of that Baron. Multiple turrets going down, plus the mid inhibitor, and they still got time.
They're just playing it very slowly. I say slowly, but it's 29 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's still a pretty quick game to have an 11K gold lead in. Playing to the strengths and the win conditions of their composition, picking it from the get-go. And the fact that they got Yasuo last rotation and didn't have it stolen away from them, it's pretty big. Because if you pick this composition, and the fact that they banned Orianna out, what would you get instead in the mid lane? It's kind of like, well, we could go Ziggs.
Yeah.
But who's going to do like the most damage on our team?
Sure.
It's kind of hard to figure out, like, if they didn't have Yasuo, what would they be playing instead that would actually work in this setup? Because they basically planned for it from the start. Their first 4 picks.
The plan worked out really well for H2K. It was not interrupted mid-champs like by SK Prime. And the picks they thought might have hampered hampered Yasuo just did not pay out. H2K get another turret for themselves. Baron buff is gone, but they're so far ahead in items. They recalled by the time Baron buff ran out to cash in all that global gold lead. And they're just as far ahead as they were when they had Baron buff, basically.
Yeah, they turned that Baron temporary combat stats into permanent ones for them. They are so strong right now in H2K. They have so many ways to set up the Yasuo. All they have to do is get at least one onto more than one person. Make it a priority target. The fact that the tidal wave will get to the back line spells disaster for SKP.
Well, then it's on Zaitan. How well can you stop the head wave with your shield with Unbreakable? Also for SK Prime, can you defend under a turret or can you not? H2K, how hard do you have to force it? They don't have many long-range champions. Turrets don't exactly go down fast for them unless you force SKP back. In this case, they do.
It's a 4-on-5 because WTFox, in the base, he would have to Destiny Gate into this fight. And Twisted Fate doesn't really blow up anybody on this team right now. He doesn't have the Lich Bane completed. He kind of split on that one. He might be going for a Rabadon's after.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just the sheen. It does give him turret damage, but it's a strange choice. But see if it pays off.
You can't really blow up a Yasuo either. A full combo from Twisted Fate, you would really need a lot of assistance, so he can't backline pick somebody off.
No. Not in any meaningful way. You even got heals from Revo Failure. The Locket done as well for Trashy, so everybody on the team has 20 bonus magic resist. And again, life just painful for SK Prime here. It's really, I think, on Z's because they're really magic damage focused. Kikis does have a bit more damage than Trashy did last game, but I don't know if it's still enough to kill people. There seems to be enough peel.
And SKP are kind of in like a Edgar Allan Poe situation right now because the map is just dark for them. They're in a lot of pain. All the wards expired. They have no vision. They're basically walking through darkness now across the map. Baron is up in 27 seconds. It's almost disaster.
And H2K are wrapping at their chamber door. They have been for a while. Inhibitor's going to come back, though. We'll give them some pause. And they're saying, you know, you guys want Baron, but never more. We're going to try to keep this away, put the ward control in. And they do have wards. This is still, as we talked about, SKP are very good at this ward game. Problem is they're just so far down in gold. I don't know if they can win in just kills, even if they do see the fight coming.
They got the ward coverage up, so map's a little brighter for them. But even if they pick a fight, and it's a good one, will it work out for them? Because there's just the level advantage, the sheer power in the members of H2K, and the fact that they have the teamfight composition. You'd have to split them perfectly, but you don't really have a way to split them. It would be on H2K to misposition the fight.
And right now, SKP have Poe Vision. Oh my gosh! Z's is alive, though. He's going to back out. Rune Prison comes across. Smitty trying to run. Tidal Wave going to come across. Doesn't quite land, though. Still running away. Smitty going to get caught up. That's a kill picked up. Nice by Hjarnan. And there's the dive in. Trashy takes him out. 2 kills so far. And Febevin just going to keep on chasing. Knock up to WTFox. Flashes in. Another kill picked up. And there's the inhibitor going back down at 33 minutes. This is going to be the game for H2K.
That crazy quick engage there from Odwamna, setting up the fight. They're going to go straight for this. They might even up the season.
They actually don't have minions. They've got to backdoor the entire double Nexus turrets.
Oh, we got 2.
It's going to be enough. 2-man knockup. They are going to take down Zaitan. Kick is back in the base, and they're slowly taking these down. Who's going to take all the damage? Odwamna forced back. Now it's on towards, looks like Trashy. Gets healed up, puts the shield down. You know what? That's fine. Who needs minions anyway? H2K just man-mode it down the mid lane. In 33.5 minutes, they will take game 2 back.
Even the series up 1-1 between SKP and H2K.
Yeah.
SKP took a game off of them, which is a big testament to them, but in that second game, completely swapped roles in pretty much everything. First Blood went over to the opposite team.
Yeah.
Bottom lane, face-checked, opposite team. Team composition on the opposite team is just crazy back and forth. Victory on the opposite team. It was crazy just swapping it. So now I think coming into this third game, both of them are going to want that team fight composition because that's what they won with both times.
That's true. These guys have done such a good job of outplaying the Rengar picks. And even though Kikis' score looks good, he's 4-2-2, it felt like he was the best performing member on that team. I feel like part of that's just because he was so opportunistic. Like, he did happen to find a way in a few times, but Trashy just did so much more on Jarvan. The Yasuo comp just did so much more in team fights. SKP's perfect fight just happened so rarely. The Twisted Fate has really not worked so far this series, and I think it is something that you have to adapt to mid-series and say, you know what? This is what's working right now. This is what's not working. This player is having a very good day. Think about that.
And WTFox, though, I don't know about having a good day or bad day because we just saw a great game and a bad game from both teams. So coming into this, it's kind of hard to judge that. I think you just have to go after comfortable comps. I really think that's what it is here, is the big difference. Because we had Ezreal Braum bottom lane again, completely shut down this time. Twisted Fate, you know, he did lose both games. And I think Rise lost this game pretty hard but didn't get ahead. Gragas one game, lost another. I don't think it's the fact that it's the champions they're picking. I think it's just the synergy within them and whose hands that they're in.
Yeah, I think you have to focus on what specifically is working well. And I had it in my head, and then it fell out again really quickly. But things like, look, these teams are able to play around the Rengar properly, right? These guys are clearly able to play around the TF pretty well. The fact that, ideally H2K says we were going to play hyper carries. We think Kog'Maw is really good. It's going to work. You realize in the series, even though we normally can beat bully lanes, we can't today. Just play an early game team, right? Just play an early game lane. Like those adaptations were to say, look, this sort of facet of our strat isn't working today. Just throw it out, switch it for game 2, keep it for game 3, right? You find the elements of the strategy that work. You talked about team fight comps. I agree, even though both teams have played pick comps to success, you say, well, today it's not. So let's play the comps that are working right now.
I think what's making that be the factor is that both teams are fantastic at warding. Pick comps don't work very well against people who ward fantastically. So both teams have had their go at it and failed with the pick comp. The team fight comp, nobody's losing their lane just flat out solo.
Yeah.
So you just group up for team fights, and the comp that has the better team fight will come out on top. So if they both pick team fight comps, it's kind of more even ground in that. So we're going to see explosive things. That's what I think is going to happen here in this next game.
All right, we'll see if that's going to happen here in Game 3. Guys, we're going to take one more quick break, but when we return, the tie will be broken, and one team will advance to the Summer 2 Finals next week. Find out who after the break. Semifinals might just be in the wrong spot, and Rune Prison says, yes, you are. Now Trashy also stunned up. H2K fight off way more than they can chew. Tidal Wave comes across. Kickus going to be dropped down 1-0. They trade back on Febiven. What the Fox flashed into the pit to fight, but now he might just be caught out. This is not a good fight for SK Prime, but Smitty goes in actually anyway. Nass will just come across, but it's 2 kills so far. Drama picks up that one. Another one for Hjarn, then everybody at SK Prime falling away. Still running away. Smitty getting caught up. That's a kill picked up. Nice by Hjarn. And there's the dive in. Trashy takes him out. 2 kills so far.